Saul Kirsch here with Double Alpha Academy, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about how you can do some custom fitting on your PDR or PDR Pro II Kydex holsters. Now, these holsters are designed to allow for adjustability in their retention of your pistol to suit the requirements of a stage. In some cases you may want the gun to be held firmer or looser depending on the stage requirements, and it is important that the holster will allow you that range of adjustability. There is a tolerance in the manufacturing process of these holsters. The forming of the Kydex is a manual process, and in some cases you may find that your holster feels a little tight on your particular pistol. In other cases it may be related to small changes that the manufacturers have made to the guns between different generations of models, and so there may be a point in the holster forming that is applying some pressure somewhere on your pistol, creating more friction than you would like. Adjusting Kydex is a very easy process. The plastic allows for reforming and reforming again and again as often as you would like, which allows you to custom fit the body of the holster to your particular gun. The first thing you'll want to do is remove the hanger. It makes it simpler and easier to handle the holster when the hanger is removed. So you can just slide that off the rail. There's no need to remove the aluminum rail of the PDR Pro II. Other models of our PDR holsters may not have that rail, but the process is the same. I have an airsoft replica here, which is not identical to the X5 at the moment. Therefore, when I fit it into the holster, I'm not completely happy with that fit. It seems to be tighter than I would like. So I'd like to improve the fit of this holster to this particular gun. What I'll do is insert the gun into the holster, into its correct position. Check that position is correct by verifying that the front end of the trigger guard lines up with the indent in the side so that it's being held correctly. And now with the gun firmly seated, I'm going to tighten down the tension screws as much as I possibly can. So in fact, this holster now is holding the gun so firmly that I would not be able to draw it at all, which is what I want for this process. This gun is now basically locked in place. Now, with the gun in place, I'm going to use a heat gun, and you could use a hairdryer, although it will take quite a bit longer to use a hairdryer. It doesn't produce quite the same amount of heat. Using the heat gun, I'm going to gradually heat the body of the holster, of the Kydex, to try and reform it to better fit the gun that's seated in it. It is helpful if you can try to identify before you start where are the contact points specifically that are creating the added friction. In some cases you'll be able to see that it's the front of the slide, or perhaps the rail of the gun is making early contact and making it a little tighter than it should be. If you know where that problematic area is, you can focus in on that while heating the Kydex to make this process faster and simpler. So, while the gun is seated in the holster, I'm going to use my heat gun to heat it from both sides to reform it, in this case a little bit around the rail area, which I feel is the most problematic area. Don't hold the heat gun too close to the Kydex because it will damage it, it will create burn marks on it. Be patient and make sure that you don't apply too much heat to your hand. Wearing a protective glove may be a good idea at this process. So let's do that for a minute or two and we'll get this reformed. Okay, so having heated that for a while, there's no visible change in the surface of the Kydex. You're not going to see that that's been done, but it's pretty hot to the touch. I'm going to let it sit like this and cool with the gun in place and the screws tight. I'm going to let the Kydex completely cool until we can then back out the screws and try to remove the gun and see if we've made an improvement. Okay, so we've allowed the Kydex to cool off. It's now still a little bit warm, but definitely not flexible anymore. It's pretty much almost back to room temperature. Now I can back out those screws that I tightened extensively while I was doing this heating, both the top one and the bottom one. And what I'll find now is that the holster is a lot looser than it was before. Now I can properly utilize the tension of the screw to adjust to where I would like this to be for one particular stage or another. So the Kydex allows for that easy thermal forming using a heat gun or even a hairdryer. If you can identify the points in the Kydex body that are applying too much pressure to your pistol, you can reform it in this manner. Then after it cools, back the screws out and you'll have a much better custom fit of your PDR Pro II or PDR Pro Double Alpha holster body, and you'll be able to enjoy the holster with better performance.